66, and it got pretty tough in the afternoon and got me into the top 10. So I was excited about that. And I remember on the Saturday night, there was a big boxing fight on. It was like Manny Pacquiao and somewhere, it might have been Floyd Mayweather. And we went to the Del Frisco's there in South Park, and we watched it at like midnight or whatever it was. You know, Vegas was 9 p.m. I remember getting to bed at like 2 a.m. Woke up the next day playing with Anthony Kim. And I went out and, you know, played one of the rounds of my life and won my first PGA Tour event. I remember, you know, I got off to a pretty decent start, and then I birdied 11, and that's when I thought, okay. And it was the first time ever where, you know, I'd got myself, I'd been playing pretty well that year, but not, you know, not as well as this. And I set myself a target score. I think I birdied 11 to get whatever it was in the tournament. And I said, okay, if I can get to like 13 under par, I might be able to win this. And I think I got to 13 under par playing the 15th hole. So then it was just a matter of trying to, you know, do what I needed to do. And yeah, it was an amazing day. And it feels like such a long time ago, but at the same time, I can remember that. You know, I think those important things, the first, whether it's your first win or your first major or whatever it is, like those things stay with you. And I think part of the reason that I've played so well here since is, you know, I had that positive moment and those positive memories. And every time I come here, you know, I just those good feelings get rekindled. So it's been a good place for me.
Take two right here with Mark and Alex.
Hey, Rory. I'm assuming that your reaction on 18 at Augusta was a bit of an out-of-body experience. I'm wondering, as you've gone and looked back on it, what your emotion is when you look at that and just your recollection.
Yeah, I've tried not to watch it a lot because I want to remember the feelings, and I want to, you know, I've talked about this before. I think when I rewatch a lot of things back, I then just remember the visuals of the TV rather than what I was feeling and what I was seeing through my own eyes. So I haven't tried to watch it back too much. But anytime I have, I well up. I still feel like I want to cry. But yeah, it was an involuntary, just, you know, I've never felt a release like that before, and I might never feel a release like that again. You know, that could be a once in a lifetime thing, and it was a very cool moment.
Rory, you talked about the different venues where you've played well. You feel like you're good where you've range player than a good, you know, hard and fast player. Can you talk about how you got to this evolving mental attitude to be able to do that? And how much has Rotella, in the short period of time you spent with him, helped you kind of get through some of that?
Yeah, I think I talked about this at the Masters press conference, but statistically I had my best season in 2019. I won the Players. I won the FedEx Cup. I had a good season, but I felt like my performances in the majors were disappointing. And I wrote in my journal or my notebook that I wanted to try to change that. And I wanted to try to tailor my game around the 4 biggest tests of the year. And I wanted to be known as someone that excelled at the hardest venues. So I said about, okay, what do I need to do? What aspects of my game do I need to get better at? And I think a lot of it had to do with mentality and embracing the toughness of a U.S. Open test, for example. You know, so I missed the cut at the U.S. Open 2016, 2017, 2018. And if you look at my results since then, I haven't finished outside the top 10 in the U.S. Open, and that was a real effort. I wanted to be known as a player that could excel in those toughest environments. And even though I haven't won a U.S. Open since then, my performances have been a lot better. And it was really about trying to retool my game in some ways, trying to master some shots that I hadn't quite mastered, and probably haven't still mastered, but I've got better at them. And then just, the attitude thing is a big thing. Working with Rotella pretty consistently since 2021. I've sort of went on, we've worked on and off for quite a while, but really consistently since 21's made a big difference.
Up to Mike 17, please.
Hi, Rory. Bryson said after the final round at the Masters that you barely spoke to him because you were so locked in. Just wondered your perspective on that and if you've had a chance to speak to him since that Sunday.
I don't know what he was expecting. We're trying to win the Masters. I'm not going to try to be his best mate out there. Everyone approaches the game different ways. I was focused on myself and what I needed to do. And that's really all that it was. It wasn't anything against him or against it. Just I felt that's what I needed to do to try to get the best out of myself that day.
Got time for 3 more. We'll wrap it up with Mike 7, 20, and then here on 3.
Rory, when you're playing practice rounds in wet and soft conditions, what is then the difficulty of having to make an on-course adjustment as the greens will eventually firm up come the weekend?
Yeah, I tried to hit a lot of downhill putts yesterday just to try to feel like what the speed of the greens might be like towards the tournament days. But yeah, it's a little different. The chip shots are reacting a touch differently. The sand is firm, so you're probably getting a little more spin out of the bunkers. Yeah, it's probably not a true representation of what we're going to face this week in the tournament days. It looks like it's going to dry up, especially at the weekend. So I think it's just about getting more familiar with, or refamiliarize yourself with the greens. We sort of all know where the pin locations are going to be too. So certain hole locations and, hitting chip shots or putts from where you think the ball's going to finish. And it's more of that. But yeah, these 3 days haven't been, probably won't be a true reflection of what we're going to face during the tournament.